3:47 a.m. A warehouse door explodes inward. FBI tactical units pour through the breach, red laser sights cutting through the darkness. Voices scream in 3 different languages. Someone's running. Cash is burning in a metal drum. And in the back room, behind walls lined with industrial freezers, agents discover something that will change everything we thought we knew about organized crime in America. This wasn't a drug lab. This wasn't a cartel safehouse. This was the nerve center of a transnational criminal empire that had been operating under our noses for 32 months. An empire that turned American suburbs into production facilities, exploited our airports as laundering hubs, and moved more than $500 million while your neighbors trimmed their hedges and walked their dogs. What you're about to see will shake you. I'm your host, and this is IC and FBI Files, where we take you inside the real operations that federal agents risk everything to execute. No Hollywood scripts. No dramatization. Just the raw, declassified truth about how America's elite investigators hunt down the most dangerous criminal networks on the planet. Before we dive into this rabbit hole, here's my question for you. Have you ever looked at a house in your neighborhood and wondered what's really happening inside? Drop a comment and let me know, because after today's story, you might never see your street the same way again. If you want more deep dives into actual federal cases, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. These investigations are happening right now, and you deserve to know the truth. Now, let me take you back to where this all began. The first crack. March 2023. Charlotte, North Carolina. A routine traffic stop on I-77 turns into something federal agents had been dreading for years. State troopers pull over a rental van for a broken taillight. The driver's nervous. Too nervous. When K9 units alert on the cargo area, officers find 340 pounds of crystal methamphetamine hidden inside boxes labeled automotive parts. But here's what made FBI analysts sit up: the purity was 98.7%. That's pharmaceutical-grade precision. That's not some backwoods cook operation. That's industrial-scale chemistry. Within 72 hours, DEA chemists traced the molecular signature. The meth didn't come from Mexico. It didn't cross any border. It was manufactured domestically. And the trail led to one unexpected place: the suburban sprawl of North Carolina and South Carolina. Question for you: would you recognize a drug production facility if it was operating 3 houses down from you? Think about that. The pattern emerges. By summer 2023, Homeland Security's Data Fusion Center notices something terrifying. Seizures of synthetic opioids and methamphetamine are spiking across the Southeast, up 380% in 18 months, but border interdictions are actually decreasing. The drugs aren't coming from outside. They're being made here. Simultaneously, customs flaggers at major cargo hubs start seeing anomalies. Shipments from Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Shanghai, declared as industrial cleaners and laboratory supplies, are arriving at volumes that don't match any legitimate business need. When inspectors crack open random containers, chemical sniffers go wild. These aren't cleaners. They're precursor compounds. The building blocks of death. ICE investigators map the shipping addresses. The trail doesn't lead to warehouses or factories. It leads to residential neighborhoods in Charlotte, Greenville, Rock Hill, and Columbia. Middle-class America was under siege, and nobody knew it. The surveillance net. Federal agents don't just kick down doors. They watch. They wait. They build cases brick by brick. For 14 months, a joint FBI task force ran one of the most extensive surveillance operations in Southeast history. Codename: Shadow Empire. Using everything from aerial drones to undercover financial auditors, investigators identified 47 primary targets. But these weren't your typical criminals. They were ghosts. No criminal records. No gang affiliations. Some had engineering degrees. Others ran seemingly legitimate import businesses. Lead investigator Special Agent Marcus Rivera told prosecutors, these weren't street dealers. These were logistics experts who weaponized American infrastructure against us. The operation had 3 layers: the suppliers, shell companies in East Asia shipping precursor chemicals disguised as legal industrial goods. The producers, Chinese nationals and recruited locals running clandestine labs in rented homes, many in gated communities where security made neighbors feel too safe to ask questions. The distributors, a sophisticated network using Mexican cartel connections to move finished product up the East Coast, as far as Boston and Philadelphia. But the real genius, the part that kept this empire invisible for so long, was the money system. The underground bank. Here's where it gets wild. Forget wire transfers. Forget cryptocurrency. This network used something far more elegant, a mirror banking system based on centuries-old Chinese financial practices called fei qian, or flying money. Here's how it worked. Drug proceeds collected in the US would be handed to couriers who made cash deposits at dozens of different businesses, massage parlors, beauty supply stores, grocery markets, phone repair shops. These weren't money laundering fronts. They were legitimate businesses whose owners had no idea their accounts were being used. The cash never left the country. Instead, criminal accountants in Shenzhen would credit equivalent amounts, minus fees, to cartel accounts in Mexico or Central America. The money flew across borders without ever moving. Brilliant. Untraceable. Almost. ICE financial investigators found the pattern by analyzing deposit behaviors. When a nail salon in Rock Hill that averaged $3,000 weekly suddenly starts depositing $40,000 in sequential bills every Thursday at 11 p.m., that's not a business boom. That's a red flag the size of Texas. Quick question: do you think your local businesses could be unknowingly involved in money laundering? Most of them have no idea. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thunder at Dawn. October 17, 2024. 4:23 a.m. The largest coordinated law enforcement action in Southeast history kicks off simultaneously across 4 states. Over 800 federal agents, backed by local SWAT teams and state police, move on 167 locations at once. The element of surprise is total. The execution is surgical. In Charlotte's Providence neighborhood, tactical teams breach a $1.2 million home. The front looks like something from a magazine: manicured lawn, Tesla in the driveway, kids' bikes on the porch. The back tells a different story: a garage converted into a chemical processing center with ventilation systems vented into the crawlspace, fume hoods built from Home Depot materials, and enough raw fentanyl precursor to kill everyone in a stadium. The family living upstairs? A cover story. The father was actually a chemist recruited from a pharmaceutical company in Wuhan. The mother managed logistics. The kids in the photos weren't theirs. In Greenville, agents hit a warehouse listed as a textile storage facility. Inside, $19 million in shrink-wrapped cash stacked to the ceiling, 450 pounds of finished methamphetamine, and a sophisticated pill press. Churning out fake prescription opioids stamped with legitimate pharmaceutical markings. One suspect tried to flush evidence. Another attempted to run and crashed through a garage door. A third barricaded himself in a panic room with a shotgun until negotiators talked him down after 6 hours. The haul was staggering. 167 arrests across 4 states. 16 tons of narcotics seized. 3 million counterfeit pills. $47 million in cash and assets. 340-plus firearms, including military-grade weapons. Evidence of $520 million laundered over 3 years. But some of the most important discoveries weren't drugs or money. The ledger. In Colombia, agents found something extraordinary: a leather-bound ledger written in coded Mandarin, detailing every transaction, every shipment, every payment for 28 months. It was old school. Analog. Impossible to hack because it wasn't digital. FBI linguists and cryptographers worked for weeks to decode it. What they found was a organizational chart that stretched from Sinaloa to Shenzhen, with tendrils reaching into Los Angeles, Houston, Atlanta, and New York. This wasn't just one network. It was a franchise model. The Shadow Empire had been selling its operational blueprint to other criminal organizations. Law enforcement had stumbled onto something bigger than anyone imagined: a criminal business model being exported worldwide. The human cost. Let's talk about what this really means. Every dose of fentanyl produced in those suburban labs had the potential to kill. Every fake pill pressed in those warehouses looked identical. to legitimate medication. Parents giving their teenagers what they thought was Xanax. College students buying what they thought was Adderall to study for exams. None of them knew they were gambling with their lives. The DEA estimates the single network's product contributed to at least 890 overdose deaths across 12 states. That's 890 families destroyed. 890 funerals. 890 empty chairs at dinner tables. I want to hear from you. Has your community been affected by the fentanyl crisis? Share your story in the comments. This isn't just statistics, these are our neighbors, our friends, our families. Why this matters to you. Here's what keeps federal agents up at night. This wasn't unique. FBI intelligence assessments suggest there are at least 30 to 40 similar operations currently running in the United States. Different cities. Different players. Same model. The reason? America's legitimate infrastructure, our ports, our highways, our airports, our neighborhoods, makes us incredibly efficient for legal commerce. But that same efficiency can be weaponized by criminals who understand how to exploit gaps in oversight. These networks succeed because of three things. Compartmentalization. Nobody knows the full picture. The chemist doesn't know the distributor. The courier doesn't know the accountant. Everyone's in their own box. Legitimacy as camouflage. By operating in nice neighborhoods and using real businesses, they hide in plain sight. We don't expect evil to have a mortgage and a homeowners association. Speed and adaptation. When one route gets shut down, they pivot within days. New addresses. New covers. New methods. The unanswered questions. Even with 167 arrests, investigators know the Shadow Empire's leadership remains largely intact. The people arrested were middle management, crucial to operations, but replaceable. The architects, the financial masterminds in Asia, the cartel leadership in Mexico, remain beyond reach. They operate in jurisdictions where U.S. law enforcement has limited power and where corruption makes cooperation difficult. Some of those arrested are cooperating, providing intelligence that's already triggering new investigations across the country. But others? They're staying silent, knowing their families back home face consequences if they talk. This is the reality of modern organized crime. It's global. It's sophisticated. And it's constantly evolving. So here's my final question for you, and I really want you to think about this. What are we willing to sacrifice to keep our communities safe? More resources for federal agencies? Stronger penalties for money laundering? International cooperation even with countries we don't fully trust? Or do we accept that this is the cost of living in an open, connected society? There's no easy answer. But ignoring the problem isn't an option. The Shadow Empire has been disrupted, but it hasn't been destroyed. Right now, somewhere in America, another network is setting up shop. Another suburban home is being converted into a lab. Another shipment of precursors is clearing customs. The fight continues. If this investigation opened your eyes to what's really happening in America's suburbs, I need you to do three things. First, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We cover real federal operations that mainstream media ignores. Second, share this video. Your friends, your family, your neighbors need to see this. Awareness is the first line of defense. Third, drop a comment and let me know, what shocked you most about this case? What do you think should be done differently? I read every comment, and your voice matters. This is ICE and FBI Files. Stay vigilant. Stay informed. And remember, the most dangerous criminals are the ones you never see coming. Until next time, stay safe out there.